you played that like you could write the book on this.
Oh God, I really.
You basically have. You've done a whole course on it,
yes.
haven't you? You've done a acoustic blues thing, taking inspiration from Clapton's Unplugged version of Before You Accuse Me. When I wanted to look at some Clapton acoustic blues, what drew you to this album and this song in particular?
Well, this one in particular, I think he'd always played acoustic stuff a little bit in the past, hasn't it? But this was him kind of going back to that Robert Johnson, Big Bill Brucey,
after doing all electric guitar stuff in the rest of the 80s.
60s, 70s, 80s kind of thing. Yeah, absolutely, And still to this day, I think it's one of the best recorded acoustic albums ever. You know, the sound, the tone, everything he does,
Capturing a moment, I guess.
I don't know it, but I can hear it in my head verbatim, Layla, the little one. Yeah.
See if you can spot this one, right?
Yeah, exactly, A lot of times people will criticise Clapton saying, it's just electric guitar licks on the acoustic.
Yeah.
But it's so much more than that. It makes you kind of play. Because, he's still doing all that, but it's because you're on an acoustic, it's a different tone.
There's a limit to how much you can bend. You're not going to get.
He's going to slide more, And he'll hit those kind of that mix in the major and minor. The weaving in and out of them. Seeing the chord again.
It was definitely Clapton's. I don't know if it was this one or another 12-bar blues in E, but it was this one where I got the. Which I then spotted in many John Mayer solos with John Mayer Trio.
Oh man, even that beginning, that is E7.
Yeah.
But if you can think, pentatonic, there's shape 2, but obviously we've got this note here. So that's obviously doing something. You can take the theory out of it, but
it's doing the Hendrix thing of giving a major third over something that sounds a lot more minor.
Yeah, exactly. But could we got that dominant chord and the major minor thing the dominant chord is basically an ambiguous chord, because it's got a major third and a minor seventh in there. So that's why if I have that, that's your kind of minor pentatonic. But if I got, that's your major, and if you put them together, now you kind of sound like a blues guy.
You don't have to get cleverer than that.
No.
You don't have to get more into the theory than that.
Yeah.
It works. Do it more and play.
Again, you can keep it simple
for someone to learn.
But getting to the point where you can, if you want to take things up a notch a little bit, and thrown in, an E7. Then you got your A7. That there, I'm just putting the G on top. So you might know, most people probably know an A7 chord with the open G there, but there, it's got that G on top.
Different voicing of the same chord.
But of course you could do the same thing there,
That's when I got a lot more 4-chord licks over. Because over this still does work, E minor pentatonic. But when we've done this for like 4 rounds, then you go to the A. You're saying A, aren't you?
Yeah.
It sounds more like it.
Yeah.
And it's better than just sticking to the one shape. 5 chords. Again, my one that I brought from this. And just with that B major chord. And you're only one step away from the more Texas blues thing of.
I was just going to say, then you see Ray Vaughan, aren't you?
The taste of when to go for like a dominant 7th or a 6 is really, that's one I play about with it all. Are you doing? Or are we going? Bending up to the major on the 1.
Yeah.
Bending up to
That's when you're kind of going country blues, isn't it? With the more the
If you want to know the book on that is in this course, which we'll leave a link to down in the description.
Yeah.
I think it will help a lot of people because it's really laid out and it's perfectly done by a aficionado on Clapton Blues.
that strange man. You know what I mean? He's out there. But the big question is always like, how do I get to know my notes on the guitar neck, you know? And of course, sitting there with, you know, an A4 bit of paper and E, F sharp, G sharp, what, it's a bit boring. You know,
it's not the most effective because that's not what you're actually doing. What you're doing when you play stuff like this is actually going between all your 7th chord shapes, right?
Yeah, getting the visualization of where each chord shape is, and also tying that in with your scales as well. You know, so where I've been doing that, you know, there's an E, E, and E. So if you can kind of see them locked in, say then you change the key and want to do, you know, A. Same shape, but you know, A's going to be in the same place where each one of those are. So then bit by bit, if you can see then the chords of each one, you can start seeing the notes, and then bit by bit. I mean, obviously here we're in the key of E.
Yeah.
You know, what makes life a lot easier. So when I was saying about... But a lot of times, you know, if you're doing, say, kind of a B.B. King thing, a lot of times those guys are in B flat.
Yeah, piano keys.
Piano keys, and they're playing with brass sections. So
E
that
flat,
does...
B flat, a lot more common.
Yeah, and it does make it a bit harder. So say if you got, you know... Now, I purposely there did my Dirty Dancing lick.
Oh, show us the Dirty Dancing lick.
And the reason I called it Dirty Dancing, if anybody is, I'm hoping people have seen Dirty Dancing. And there's a bit with Babe, is it Babe, the character?
Baby,
sorry.
No one puts Baby in a corner.
And her sister's like practicing for that show, and she's like that bit, right? And I was whatever age, and I was like, oh, that sounds cool. And I was at a point where I just worked random stuff out.
Yeah.
And then fast forward bit of time, early 2000s, I was watching an Abbey Road session, and it's Jeff Beck, Tom Jones, Lulu, and that. And Jeff Beck did that. I was like, he knows my dirty mine. Like I created it, but and now over time you'll see so many guys do, and obviously it's not mine.
Fun,
it's been a massive thing for ages,
yeah.
but that works beautifully. I'll do it super slow. So it's the 5 chord back to the 1, you know, back to the.
Quite chromatic,
and
right?
you can swing it a bit. Yeah, it's all that. That's a bit more.
Beautiful.
And then you can kind of make it a bit more swingy kind of stuff. But regarding what your question was earlier about easy thing, there I'm seeing the chords a lot more, like what we've been talking about. So if you got. So there's your. Then I know you're gonna go to. Yeah. So that note there, if I've gone. You can kind of.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm kind of visualizing my 9. To bring me back into the 1, you know. And there's all little things there. So I'm like, well, that sounds diminished, so. You can kind of see how that can be. Linked in. So I'm visualizing the chords and the scales kind of superimposing on each other.
Which is why you start your blues chords with literally the 7.
Exactly. So it's all. This one's a bit more advanced, but it all stems from. But even. I can then see it all visualised on top that way, you know. Exactly, yeah.
And then on the rhythm side of things, going 1 fret higher, and then that gives you the ending, and also any.
Yeah.
Just makes it a little bit more jazz.
Yeah.
Whichever chord you're going for, everything's the same, but just for that early beats, and also for the ending, either that, or you can even take it further.
Yeah, of course you can.
One hang, which I think I first heard in Back to the Future, that Night Train one. At the end of that.
Yeah. Let's do another one.
Because the inventor of rock and roll was Marty McFly.
Absolutely. That is the best.
that really cooks.
So we did it in A, not on B flat. That was my bad. Sorry, I got excited. You know?
It's much easier to play.
Yeah, absolutely.